This is the most dangerous move in Jiu Jitsu. And here it is being done to me. This move caused 3 months of healing and unfortunately isn't the only one to cause that much damage. But if we're talking about dangerous moves, it'd be impossible to not mention the rolling back take from Turtle. There are a few variations of this popular move, and when done correctly, it's a beautiful way to get to somebody's back and give you tons of access to new attacks. But what if this move doesn't go according to plan? Unfortunately, this is how it goes. The result from this is that Jack was paralyzed because he couldn't move his neck and he rolled incorrectly on it. And while this move can be used in a safe manner, whether it's going over the side or over the top, if your partner is not able to rotate their neck correctly when rolling, they're going to suffer some tragic consequences. But what if you can't control your opponent and you're going to add gravity to the equation?
The number one cause of catastrophic injury in the sport of jiu-jitsu is uncontrolled falling body weight.
Jumping guard or jumping attacks in general add a whole new dimension of dangerous attacks for the sport. You may be on the defensive side and they're jumping guard on you and it ends up like this. Or you're initiating a jumping attack and it goes catastrophic for you. Let's be clear that flying attacks are very common and a lot of time they have a lot of success. Flying arm bars, triangles, guillotines, you name it, all these are extremely popular techniques. It's when the technique becomes uncontrolled that it offers so much more danger to the situation.
90% of the worst injuries in this sport come from falling body weight.
However, some moves from Judo have also crossed over in Jiu-Jitsu and they're banned in most gyms because of how dangerous they are.
If you're a dojo owner, you should ban Tanetoshi, period. But some of the biggest injuries that I've ever seen in Judo come from this.
At first glance, this move doesn't look that dangerous. It's a nice counter when they're reacting to your pressure if you're going for a different throw, and it just seems like a trip from behind. But there's a big difference between the pros doing it on the world stage under a Judo rule set versus doing it in Jiu-Jitsu where you could seriously damage someone's knee.
If she turns just a little bit, and I sit into this knee from the outside, my entire weight comes on top of that compromised leg. That's why it's so dangerous.
Now I've seen the dangerous moves, but we can't ignore the lateral knee bar if we're considering submissions. Most knee bars target the kneecap and push it down to hyperextend it. Of course, this will cause damage with enough pressure, but your knees can take it up to a certain degree. But when the move is applied to the side of the knee, it's almost instant ligament damage if your opponent puts any pressure on it. Now just add a little bit of illegal reaping and you get this result. I'm personally a huge fan of this submission because it's so easy to pull off compared to other leg locks, but don't be a fool, train this with caution, and don't hurt anybody. And I think it should go without saying that all submissions are going to cause some serious damage, but spiral breaks will mess you up for life. The easiest way to see the full damage of a spiral break is with the Kimura. It's an extremely popular technique that is taught all the way from white belt to black belt and has complete systems built around it. All fractures are obviously bad, but spiral fractures from Kimuras cause a different dilemma. When long bones are broken on an angle, they often separate into two parts that do not align and have rough, uneven edges. This makes it tremendously hard to recover from and it's going to cause lifelong injuries, thanks to your favorite friend, the Kimura. Most people understand when to tap to this technique, but in these situations where they don't, we get to see the full damage that the move causes and it's entered into the list of the most dangerous moves in Jiu-Jitsu. And while I believe most people understand when to tap to this technique, if you don't tap to the twister, you may be paralyzed for life. The twister is a fan favorite move. It takes so much effort to get to this position. There are a lot of better submissions on the way that you could have gotten, but you decide you want to style on your opponent and you caught them here. The real devastating power of the twister is that it's a spinal lock, and anytime you're risking damage to your spine, you could be paralyzed. The twister works because you're pulling their neck one way while forcing their hips and the rest of their body the opposite direction. You're completely at their mercy and you'd be a fool not to tap, because otherwise you're going to end up like this. I'm a big fan of walking myself, so I choose to tap anytime I'm caught in this, and you should too. And while tapping is an easy way out, unfortunately you don't always get the opportunity when it comes to slams. This move is outright banned in Jiu-Jitsu except for very few circumstances such as the ADCC when you're caught in a submission. So don't worry, as this most likely won't happen to you. Unless of course you're rolling with other white belts, then anything goes. As mentioned earlier, falling body weight is a huge reason for injuries in the sport. Slamming somebody obviously plays a part in that. It is still possible to win when they slam you if the rule set allows it, but let's be honest, I don't want to be caught in one of these.
There you go. That's right, Aaron. Finish it! Finish it! Yeah!
Also, I don't like slams because it might ruin my guillotine game completely. And while the rules may protect us from slams, they don't protect us from heel hooks, which is a completely legal technique but has a long list of victims. The heel hook has gotten a bad rap in the jiu-jitsu community for a long time. The founders of the sport scoffed at doing foot attacks for going for submissions and was viewed as the worst way to win a competition. Then everything changed when people realized it was a cheat code to win no-gi competitions. Nonetheless, they were still banned in most ranks and certainly were banned in gi jiu-jitsu. But the truth is that it's like every other submission. If you don't tap out when it's fully locked in, you're gonna break your shit. But one reason the heel hook has a lot more going for it in terms of damage is because it doesn't take as much movement to get the same thing accomplished. Another reason it causes so many injuries is because gyms don't train them. The students don't know how to defend against them correctly, they go up against somebody who's really good at them, and the next thing you know, they're getting their ACL repaired. But the biggest reason to me on why they cause so much damage is because of the positions you go for them. A lot of times when you have a submission like an armbar, you're in control and the other opponent is set to defend it. With full locks, it can quickly become a wild shootout about who's going to crank the submission faster. Whether it's in the competition or in a gym war, people don't like losing, so they both start ripping on as fast as they can to try and win the match, and somebody's going to go to the hospital. So heel hooks are dangerous. But what if you had that same pressure while jumping into their kneecap? Kani Basami is the most dangerous technique in jiu-jitsu. It's banned in basically every gym you'll visit, it's banned in almost every competition you'll enter, and this technique is even banned in judo. There are safe versions of doing this by first posting your hand on the mat, and these I find are very acceptable. But going into a training session where you're both trying to get better and just slamming all your weight into their kneecap, I'm not too much of a fan of that. What makes it exceptionally dangerous is because your foot is stuck on the mat while your knee is turning from their weight. If you're lucky, you're able to get your foot off the mat so you can turn with them, and even then it can still be injured in the process. This move can lead to some very slick heel hook entries, but overall it's not one you should be practicing in the gym, and it's ranked number 1 as the most dangerous technique in the sport. Now, while all those moves looked extremely painful to be in, it's also dangerous to go to jiu-jitsu without the right gear. But if you go to xmartial.com and use promotion code Tyler10, you won't have these same issues. You can pick up some great jiu-jitsu rash guards, shorts, gis, and any other apparel that you can think of. The holidays are right around the corner, so now is the best time to find the gear that you want, and with promo code Tyler10, you won't regret it.